Yo, what is going on, my dudes? Welcome to another RuneScape news coverage video. For this, we're going to talk about the mining and smithing rework from the latest live stream. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's go.
Cats is the illest. What you talking about, Willis?
Alright guys, before we get started, I covered a lot of stuff about mining and smithing in the past, and some things they did reiterate in this live stream, so I'm not going to go into major detail on things I've already covered. You can go ahead and check out my previous videos if any of those are of interest to you. So we're going to mainly cover the new things with today's live stream. To get started, first off, they start off here outside of the empty throne room. This is actually the location of one of the dark Animica sites, which is, if you know where the empty throne room is, it's within the dig site area. Moving on to the actual world map, the map shows actually a bunch of the mining sites here. Mod Stu wanted to trim them down, in all honesty, since there was no mechanical need for them at all anymore, considering you no longer compete with each other for resources, so there really is no need for having so many mining sites. But the community gave their feedback over the various mining site drafts that Mod Stu has done, and ultimately voiced that they want to keep all or most of them still in the game, so that's what he has done. They mentioned that it is very likely that they will put maybe one or two rocks in various different areas in the game world where it fits thematically, but those won't necessarily be marked on the map as mining sites since there's only, like I said, just one or two rocks. Also, a cool feature with the world map here is when you mouse over any of the mining sites in the world, it will actually show you all the available ores in that mining site and their level to mine them, which is a really nice touch. Mod Stu also made it that the icons that lead to interior areas will also show this as well. The example here showing is the mining guild. Overall, a very nice feature, and glad to see that in game. I want to shift over to some of the concerns people had with Animica, or the perception that people had of the Animica. There is currently light and dark Animica, and it is not associated with Seren and Zaros as most would probably assume. In fact, in terms of what Animica is, it's actually solidified god energy or divination energy in crystallized form, I guess you could say. Now, those mining sites that hold light and dark Animica are significant in the sense that something happened there in the history of RuneScape with a god, be it a death or an injury that has caused god energy to spew out and onto the land. All of which would be light Animica. The only reason why you have dark Animica is because it is essentially light Animica that got corrupted by the Shadow Realm, which is actually why we're seeing dark Animica just outside the empty throne room, because it is the, and spoilers now, the place where Zaros was killed by Zamorak. Moving on to a different type of mining rock, gemstone rocks. They have actually been split into two different types. We have precious and semi-precious. Precious includes your standard gems, you know, your sapphires, your emeralds, etc. And semi-precious will include gems like jade, red topaz, and the like. This means that they've opened up gemstone rocks to free-to-play players. They will be able to get their hands on these semi-precious gems, not the precious ones, your standard gems that we're all accustomed to. Which leads us into a next feature with mining they talked about, and that is geodes. You'll be able to receive geodes as you mine. However, it won't work with the previous gemstone rocks we just talked about. It works with any other type. And these geodes are stackable. They're like a little mini reward when you're mining. And they generally contain gems in them, but it's not necessarily always gems. It's usually just mining related stuff, but more than likely they contain gems. There are actually three different tiers of geodes. There's one that is for free-to-play, which will include your semi-precious gems and other free-to-play related things. There is a members version, and as you'd expect, includes things like your members gems. And there is a third, very rare, about 1 in 1,000 chance to get, which includes really good loot, which they're undecided as to what that loot is, but I imagine it's at least things like onyxes and your more rare mining materials. So that's pretty much it in terms of all the new information regarding mining. We're going to actually shift over to smithing now and look at the new things that we got there. During this part of the video, in the background, you're going to see the partially made rework to the Artisan's Workshop. I did an entire video on the Artisan's Workshop, so if you want to know all the changes made there, do head over to that video and check it out. But this is the early stages of what the new layout would look like. Anyways, one of the most notable things on the stream today with smithing is this new interface. It's been completely reworked. So it used to, at least in the beta, use the standard MakeX interface that we're all accustomed to, but now it's been completely changed. Here you can see that you can choose exactly what core materials you want to utilize, and then what exact item you want to make, all in one easy interface. You can also choose whether or not you want to make a base item, a +1 item, +2 item, etc., all the way up to burial. So it's all in one, user-friendly area for you to access everything you need in terms of smithing. I want to mention one thing quickly about people who are concerned about their banks. If you have a bunch of rune items, they are going to be replacing them with similar rune items, but its chances are that it might be like a +1 or +2 of that variant, because those things have higher alch values than the base ones. So you're looking at probably, if you have rune plate bodies stashed in your bank, you might get like rune plate body +2s, and those should be of equal alch value or higher, which ultimately means that your bank will be worth more, especially considering how the mining and smithing rework is going to function. Because currently a rune plate body, you can't do anything with it. You only have two options really, just high alch it or disassemble it. That's all you really can do. However, with the mining and smithing rework, you could upgrade a plate body to +1, +2, +3, and then even burial armor. So if your bank after the rework gets replaced with like a +2 rune plate body, people would buy those because you could still get smithing XP if you buff it up or take it to an anvil and increase it up to a +3 or even a burial armor. So ultimately, if you're holding on to a bunch of rune items when this launches, your bank is likely to go up, which is nice. I know a lot of people are concerned about that, so hopefully that eases some of your minds going forward. I want to look at the goldsmithing gauntlets for a second. Those actually are going to be reworked into what they're calling smelting gauntlets. So currently the way it works in the mining smithing rework, when you're smelting bars, they go back in your inventory and then you have to right click and deposit those all back into the hopper. So what the smelting gauntlets are going to do, they're going to make it so you can directly smelt bars straight into the hopper. You don't have to actually fill up your inventory and then refill the hopper with your bars. And they're thinking of increasing the MakeX from Make 28 up to Make 60 with these gauntlets. So it'll be an extremely AFK way to make bars when you're using the new smelting gauntlets, as they're calling them. Moving on, I want to talk about the smithing overload. As I talked about very early on when I started covering mining and smithing rework, there is some kind of overload that is untradeable from the smithing skill. ModJack on the stream actually pitched an idea that apparently the community seems to initially like, and here's what it is. First off, it's going to be relatively cheap to make, not very expensive at all, and will require high level smithing, things like 90, but may get progressively better as we go up to 99 in terms of its utility or how powerful it is. So it will be a consumable item that will temporarily give you what they're calling a thorns effect. Whenever something hits you, I guess they get injured by the thorns and they will take a damage similar to reflect. However, this is probably only going to be within melee range, and probably only if you're wearing melee armor. Because this is a smithing update, however, and generally smithing is for melee. They didn't want it to be a general overall combat buff. So that's a pretty decent idea. Like I said, the community seems to be behind it, and hopefully it works out pretty well. Although there's not too many bosses when you are in melee distance unless you're a tank, but hey, maybe a tank could at least use these and get a better DPS. We're gonna have to wait and see. Anyways, I'm gonna give you a quick list of things that actually need to still be looked at the moment. They don't necessarily know what direction they want to take this. Some of these things may get changed or repurposed entirely. Some might just need a buff, and some they might just keep exactly as is. So some of those things are invention perks, the skill cape perks, the crystallized spell specifically with mining juju potions, harmonized ore during Chahern hour, and soft clay during Ithel hour, the crablets in the Arc region, mining divine locations, Tetsu armor as it's largely useless or obsolete with this rework, and the Varrock smithing armor. All of those need to be considered and changed. They do not exactly have a proposed change yet, but are something that will be touched on by launch. And that being said, speaking of launched, when can we expect this in game? This is actually towards the back end of the year, somewhere around the end, maybe November, December region, but they do want to get that beta out towards the end, but as soon as possible. However, the beta itself is actually going to be as close to feature complete as possible. So what you're seeing when that second beta launches is pretty much exactly what you're going to see in the final build when it actually launches. Obviously, we're going to give our feedback for any minor tweaks that they need to do here and there, but at that point, they should be pretty much near completion, and I'd imagine that full launch will come very shortly after the beta is over. Again, that's towards the end of the year. My guess is somewhere in the November, December region. That being said, I'm going to wrap up the video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. If you have any thoughts on anything we discussed in this video, give me your feedback. Let me know what you guys think about it. Are you happy about any of these changes? Are you dissatisfied? I'd love to know down in the comments below. And I'm going to wrap up the video there. If you have enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things RuneScape related, then hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. I am out. Peace.